Hello and welcome to this exclusive webinar on Modernize and Transform Operational Experience with Dell Integrated System for Microsoft assures that. I am Kanchi Shah, General Manager for Content and Strategy at Strateg, and it's a pleasure to welcome all of you, ladies and gentlemen, with a need to boost agility and be more responsive to changing business demands. Many organizations are adopting a multi-cloud approach to their IT. Increasingly, organizations are managing IT infrastructures that span locations, multiple cloud instances, core data centers, and expanding edge deployments. While the cloud has been instrumental in building a responsive IT strategy, the proliferation of locations and instances has created management and compliance complexities. And through this webinar, we're going to address exactly that. We're going to understand the organization's point of view on what these complexities are and what are their strategies around handling these complexities. And then we're going to see how Dell and Microsoft together can provide the best-in-class solutions to address those complexities. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Mr. Venkatesh Natarajan, who is an advisor with strategy, to join us and deliver the keynote address. Over to you, VM.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You must be wondering, the very first slide which I bring up here is this single letter P. And what does this P stand for really? Very interesting. There are two words starting with the letter P, which have gained a lot of traction in recent times. And the first letter, which is starts with the letter, the first word which starts with the letter P is prediction. And I truly believe that we are living in a VUCA world, as we all know. We are not able to predict anything in this world. Even today, as I said, if you ask any sales guy what would be the month end or the year end closing figures, he would probably find it difficult to forecast and predict. So that's the way the world seems to be today. So should we not have this word called prediction, predict or prediction thrown out of the dictionary? So that's the first word of starting with P. The second word is, I'm saying protect and protection. This word has also gained a lot of traction now in recent times, especially after the COVID and the recent developments globally. So today we talk of protecting our borders, we talk of protecting our culture, and then we talk of even protecting our data. So this word called protection has gained a lot of traction globally today. And someone of this personality, a very, very famous personality, Jeff Immelt, he forecasted this way back almost 10 years ago in 2014. And he made this statement. He said, if you went to bed last night as an industrial and a manufacturing company, you're going to wake up as a software and an analytics company. A very, very powerful and a very, very profound statement, which sums up the kind of disruption we are witnessing across the globe, riding on technology, enabled by technology, digital technologies. And someone recently said that the kind of disruption we are going to witness in the next 10 years is going to be far more than probably what we witnessed in the last 100 years. So the future seems to be fairly exciting, challenging, and yet scary also. And COVID in the last 3 years has only accelerated this changes, and it has changed the basics. If we earlier in our schooling, we had studied the 3 R's as reading, writing, and arithmetic. Today, that has changed, and today we talk of re-engineering, reimagining, and reinventing. So COVID has redefined the basic 3 R's, where every organization you talk to, irrespective of the size of the organization, large enterprises, SMEs, everyone seems to be talking of some kind of a digital transformation. They are talking of re-engineering their business processes, reimagining their business models, and so on and so forth. So today what we are going to have a look at is some of these trends. I'm not talking of technology trends. When you talk of technology trends, you could be talking of edge computing as the trend, as blockchain, metaverse, Web 3.0, and so on and so forth. But here, as a practitioner, as an industry practitioner, I'm going to talk of trends which are basically application of these technologies. And by and large, this is cross industry to say what are those areas, priority areas, key focus areas, and trends that you would see cutting across various industry verticals like manufacturing or BFSI and so on. So here I've identified actually seven trends, and we will quickly kind of go through what are these seven trends which I see in this year. The first one is leveraging technology for business resilience. And this word called adversity, some of these words called resilience and adversity have gained a lot of momentum, a lot of prominence during the COVID time. And I apply, and what is this? Basically, organizations want to become more resilient, they want to become more robust because of this VUCA world. And I truly believe this photograph is, of course, of Sadhguru, and I'm no devotee or follower of Sadhguru, but I do watch a lot of his videos. He talks of this principle called inner engineering, which is all about saying that we don't have much of a control over the external world, right? Nobody could predict COVID. Nobody could really predict that there would be a Russia-Ukraine war and so on. So when you can't predict, there is a lot which you can do internally, right, for you to be resilient enough to face this external turbulence. And for a human being, it could be through yoga, it could be through spirituality, and various other forms, or meditation, for you to be strengthening your inner so that you're able to face a very, very turbulent external. If you were to apply the same concept to the business today, if and what do you need to build that, today you talk of resilient organization or an immune organization. If you have to build immunity in the body, what you need is antibodies. And the building blocks of all these antibodies are proteins. If I take the same analogy to the business also, businesses want to build immunity. So the antibodies for a business could be, they would probably want to reinforce or build a very agile operation. They want to strengthen the employee engagement. They want to build some data culture in the organization, a data-driven organization. They want to enhance their cyber securities. If these are all the antibodies, technology is going to play a major role as proteins for you to build those antibodies. For example, when you take what I have highlighted here is strengthen employee engagement, the technology enablers will be using technology to build a digital workplace, an AI-driven employee self-service kind of a platform, digital collaboration platforms, which will all go towards strengthening that employee engagement, which is that antibody. The second trend we see is hyper-automation. Everyone wants to become lean today, right? Every organization says we want to be asset light, we want to be lean. And here I'm talking of, when I say lean, you talk of lean manufacturing, you talk of lean processes and so on. Today, what is important is, I think many of the organizations, and especially the large organizations, over a period of time, they could have been, what I call it as, built a lot of processes which are also kind of automated. So process obesity leads to software obesity. I think time has come probably where you will have to go back to your drawing board, lay all your business, identify and lay all your business processes on a canvas. And then I say you'll have to put all these on the treadmill to shed fat. And this is similar to what I think when we put on weight, right? We kind of step onto the treadmill, and probably after 15, 20 days of strenuous workouts, the first line of benefit you would get is you probably can walk faster, you can run faster, you can climb staircases that much more easily. The second line of benefit is for all those 40 plus people, your cholesterol levels, your sugar levels, your BP levels, your stress levels also comes under control. And third benefit is an offshoot of all this is your medical bills are going to come down. Similarly, when you put an organization's all business processes on the treadmill and make it to run, right, it will shed fat. You are supposed. So when you shed fat, it is all about identifying all those activities and then identifying activities which are not required to be done and then eliminating them. So adopt the EAO strategy. Eliminate those which are not required to be done. If you can't eliminate, look at whether you can automate, and then whether you can outsource this or you can centralize this. An organization stands to derive maximum benefits when it is able to re-engineer the process first and then look at automation. And then, of course, apply digitalization on top of that. Lean process drives business acceleration and agility, and many of the organizations across industry segments seem to be focusing on using automation and hyper automation, using more and more of AI tools like RPA to drive automation at scale. The third priority area, key focus area for many of the CIOs I talk to is on CX transformation. So the moment you say digital transformation, a lot starts off, most of the people believe that it should start from the customer. You should keep the customer at the center of your entire transformation, and then look at what can you do to enhance your customer experience, and then look at everything behind that, and then come backward and work backwards to identify what should be done both externally and internally within the organization to deliver that very, very unique customer experience. Keeping in mind, of course, that the demography, when you do all these, I think organizations are conscious of the fact that there is a demography shift that is really happening, and that is accelerating the CX transformation. You have many of the businesses which are today run by the so-called millennials, and people who have just kind of crossed their 20s and then taken over the responsibility of running their father's business or grandfather's business or whatever it is. They are all very, very digital savvy. They're all very, very tech savvy. They all use a lot of mobile apps, and they do a lot of things on the mobile. So when organizations chalk out their CX transformation strategy, it is very important that you keep in mind the segment of these customers and their rapidly changing expectations when it comes to digital enablers. So this is as far as the customer is concerned, but when you start then looking back, and today I think we should, across all industry segments, people would say that there is a lot of competition which is building in every sector. There's a lot of competition with a lot of foreign players also pitching their tents in India. Now, how do you equip your sales guys who are fighting that battle on the battlefield? So what you see here is the American soldiers. And interestingly, the American soldiers are fully equipped. And with due respect to the Indian soldiers also, these people carry about 17 pounds of accessories. It could be equipment devices, it could be night vision goggles, it could be knives, it could be some pills and so on, apart from the arms and ammunitions. How do you equip your front-end field people, whether it's sales or service personnel, to be equipped with all these arms and ammunitions and all those digital tools for them to be fighting that battle very effectively in a very, very competitive landscape? The fourth trend which we see, of course, is about data. And everyone talks of data today. This four-letter word has become a very, very powerful word, to the extent where you have a lot of very prominent people, whether it is world leaders, whether it's corporate leaders, whether it's business leaders, talking about the power of data and what you can do with data and the power of AI. To the extent where one of the corporate leaders just a couple of years ago during the COVID, in one of those summits on AI, said that in the past, nations have competed on physical capital, financial capital, and human capital and intellectual capital. But in the coming decades, nations will increasingly compete on data capital. It's a very, very kind of a powerful statement, which gives a view of the kind of disruption that we would be viewing going forward. So the future of the nations will be determined by GDP. But here, this GDP is not only the gross domestic product, but also the gross data product. So CIO priorities as far as data and analytics and AI is concerned is, I think it's important that all the CIOs are looking at expanding their data landscape. So here I'm saying CIOs have to become Napoleon. So Napoleon Bonaparte was known for, he had this hunger for conquering land. So the CIO should be having this hunger for conquering the data landscape, or capturing more and more data, not only internally, but also externally, and then look at what you can really do and how much of value that you can mine from those data through the various kind of tools and technologies that are available today at his disposal. And then position data and then organize data in a combat ready mode. Because today businesses are asking for applications to be developed at breakneck speed. We can't be really saying at that point in time that the data is in the ERP, this is there in the CRM, and I need to get all this data together. You have to line up in such a way that they say that the Air Force, the moment they get an information that there is an intruder aircraft, they will scramble off a jet fighter within minutes, right? And then that goes and then intercepts the intruder aircraft. If this is the kind of response time, you can imagine the kind of people, process, technology, policies, procedures that are in place to enable this kind of a response time. So similarly, how do you line up the data so that you're able to scramble off and then build applications at breakneck speed to meet the business demands? And finally, look at CIOs are looking at how do you kind of build a data driven organization where everyone understands the potential and the power of data, and you have a set of initiatives and strategies for you to improve the usage of data and hence mine more value from your data. The fifth one, of course, this is related to the fourth one, is slightly going a little futuristic. This is present and the future now. Is talking on open data ecosystems or open digital ecosystems. I'm seeing moving forward that your ecosystems are going to change, right? For example, your automotive ecosystem is changing with various alternate fuels which are coming in vogue today. So I'm imagining a data ecosystem which could be industry specific. For example, the automotive open data ecosystem, or it could be for oil and gas, for the BFSI, for the healthcare, and so on, where you typically look at all the concerned stakeholders getting together and then contributing data to what you could call it as a data mandi. And what you see on the screen is a sample of how an open data ecosystem would look like. You have the ecosystem where you have a lot of captive data being captured, various types of data are being captured. Everything gets into a common data platform. And you have a developer community which uses all this data for developing a lot of solutions which are useful to the customers and to the society and to the community at large. The sixth trend which I see, which organizations definitely can't afford to take their eyes off, is on cybersecurity today. And today, I think it's been taken for granted today that you will have attacks. Every organization will face this cyber attacks, right? So the talk is more about from cyber security to cyber resilience, assuming that yes, one day I will also be kind of impacted. But do I have the right kind of systems in place, policies in place, procedures in place, technologies in place, and processes in place for me to ensure that even if I'm attacked, I'm resilient enough, and my business, there is very minimal damage to the business and to the organization. And then compounded by this is the data privacy, and with the data privacy law being enacted in the parliament, will be enacted very, very shortly. This is going to be a key focus area for all the CIOs to ensure that whatever your data you have, you will have to identify, especially when it comes to personal data, all the kind of means for you to ensure that the privacy of data is ensured. It could be related to your customer data, it could be related to your employee data, and so on. And finally, of course, everything, all these trends are riding on this whole huge kind of a transformation called the cloud transformation. And I should say, I think the cloud has also the adoption of cloud model has also undergone a huge kind of transformation in the last, say, 10 years. From the time where probably when people were talking of the cloud, I still remember in 2012, 13, when people started talking of the cloud. The talk was typically at a 30,000 feet level, and most of the people were expressing concern on data, on security, cloud security, their data security. I think that's more of a mindset kind of a change, which has now changed significantly, I think, changed today. And today, if you look at some of these trends as far as cloud is concerned, I think a lot of organizations are trying to even move their ERPs also to the cloud so that you have a cloud first strategy, a cloud native kind of a strategy. And the second trend you see mostly in the manufacturing industries with more and more organizations adopting industry 4.0 with connected factories, the shop floors becoming more and more connected with a lot of machines, tools and equipments being connected. More and more of data is being captured and then moving to the cloud. Embracing sovereign cloud with more and more of importance being given to data residency and data sovereignty, and the need for having data in a particular geographic thing, which is determined by the regulators. I think the third trend is also gaining a lot of traction. Cloud sustainability, and one of the first things which I used to also do when I used to interact with the cloud service providers was to ask them, how much of carbon credit will you be giving me? What's a kind of, for the workloads which I run on the cloud? How much of green, what is the percentage of green energy that these cloud service providers seem to be using for powering their data centers? And these are the kind of conversations which we used to, have with the cloud service providers on sustainability, because every organization and every CIO has got a major role to play in terms of its contribution towards sustainability and ESG as a whole, which many of the organizations have embarked on. Multi-cloud and hybrid cloud seems to be the way forward today, right? With organizations embracing both multiple clouds and then hybrid clouds, on-prem models, having some of those very critical roles running on-prem, moving a lot of them to the cloud, and managing all this seems to be the very, very strong trend that we are witnessing. And finally, I very strongly believe that cloud is driving a lot of low code, no code, which is making application development that much more easier. These are broadly the kind of cloud trends which we seem to be witnessing at this point in time. So the mantra for driving digital success is Appify. Look at everything and see whether you can build an application. Can you botify? Cloudify it? Cashify it? Gamify that. When I say cashify, look at whether you can monetize that. And then look at always trying to build some kind of a gamification in whatever application you develop, whether it's a web application, whether it's a mobile application, and so on. So today, the role of the CIO are also changing. And I'm saying CIOs, I mean technology leaders. From being chief information officers, they are now being asked to drive digital transformation in the organization. From a pull strategy to a push strategy. They were working for business, now they're working with the business. IT used to be considered as business enablers today, but CIOs today are considered to be business partners. From sitting in an ivory tower, IT meant sitting in an ivory tower, to being an anthropologist, where your IT guys are becoming more and more moving, not only being problem solvers, but also problem finders. And the kind of potential that you have now today for delivering that unique value proposition to the organization and being a differentiator is unlimited today. And so the CIO's role is something like this. This is, say, for example, Zubin Mehta, right? He has got an orchestra. You have a group which is playing violin, guitar, and so on. His job is to orchestrate all these instruments in such a way that the audience are able to get that very, very pleasing music to their ear. So the final thing is today, how is the role of the CIO or the chief digital officer changing? This is like a bartender. He has become like a bartender. What you see in the background is all those exotic wines and whiskeys. The job of a CIO and a CDO or a technology leader today in organization is like a bartender. He has to identify, recognize what the customer wants and what his expectations are, and then mix those right kind of wines and whiskeys in the right proportion to be making those wonderful cocktails and mocktails, which will be a delight for the customer. This is the kind of role which I envisage for the CEOs going forward. Thank you very much, and it was a pleasure sharing my thoughts.
Thank you very much, VN, for taking us through a practitioner's perspective on the changing trends in technology. And how exactly are they dealing with the big buzzword, which is cloud transformation? Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I'd like to now welcome my co-panelist, who is going to join me in a wonderful conversation. Let's welcome, with a round of applause, Mr. Rishikant Shastri, who is Vice President for Technology with the State Bank of India. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have with me in conversation Mr. R.K. Shastri, who is Vice President for Technology with the State Bank of India. Thank you very much, RK, for joining me in this conversation today.
Thank you, Banchi.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we've all seen, that organizations are formulating new strategies and looking at accelerating innovation through faster application rollout and predictable workload outcomes. They're also in the process of accelerating innovation through such integrations. Whether it is integrated server, storage, networking, and virtualization resources, along with end to end management of operations and management capabilities. All in all, organizations are in a quest to derive the right kind of operational experience with maximum efficiency. And that's exactly what I'm going to discuss with RK here. So, very quickly, RK, my first question to you today is, we've seen that there is a rising demand for data center consolidation with a surge in digital transformation. And that has kind of increased the adoption of hyperconverged infrastructure. What are your thoughts on the right strategies that organizations can formulate to adopt this seamlessly?
Yeah. So before directly jumping to the strategies, let's sum up, or let's bring it. We'll start with the data center consolidation, why it is needed, and what all the steps required for it. Okay. So actually, it is a process of merging all these scattered system into efficient way. It includes your storage, your systems, your applications, your appliances, network, so on and so forth. So it also includes the computing technologies like data analytics and other peripheral applications, data warehouse, wherein we combine into at one place. Okay. So, okay, if I were to put it in a simple way, let's take an example of, downsizing the kitchen. In a kitchen, I have appliances, I have a fry pan, I have a low cook, I have a pressure cooker. If if I want to bring it into one place or under one devices, that's what we do in data center consultation also. In other words, it's a synonymous of data center optimization. Okay, the major motto to introduce consolidation is to reduce the cost and optimize business processes. So there is no fun of just doing consolidation. It has to reduce the costs and optimize my processes. Okay, and the three parameters I should able to achieve with the consolidation exercise. First and foremost, as I said, performance. My performance should be improved with my existing infrastructure. The second is resiliency. Resilience is very important. Last but not the least, scalability. I should be able to scalable within no time. Now, coming back to the steps or strategies, how I can achieve the data consolidation. First and foremost, evaluate what all things need to be consolidated, because at times anything and everything cannot be consolidated. So first and foremost, step one, evaluate what you need to do for consolidation, which all services or which all resources or which all network path you need to take in care as a consolidation process. First step. Second, make sure you have the plan in place, what you need to do, whether you're going to do phase wise or whether you're going to do system wise, application wise, business processes wise, it's up to you. Have that plan in place. So once evaluation is done, once you have plan in place, then you need to have the design prototype in place. So what will to be system look like? If you don't have design, then there will be chaos when you actually start implementing or executing. So make sure you should have that designing prototype in place for the to-be systems, consolidated system to be developed. So step one, evaluation, saying plan. Third, evaluation. Last but not the least, build and start commissioning the activity. So overall, yes, if I want to do the data consolidation, why data consolidation, how to achieve that data consolidation, and what are the strategies, I guess that we have covered to answer your query.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you very much for outlining it for us, RK. So technically, organizations are looking at performance, resilience, and of course, the speed that everything can bring to you to take all your products and strategies to market. Well, on that particular journey, we're seeing that migration to cloud has been instrumental in building a responsive IT strategy. However, this has also led to a proliferation of locations and instances and has created managing compliance complexities. In this kind of a scenario, what according to you are the imperatives of simplifying management security, and compliance of these distributed IT assets, whether in the cloud or on-prem or on edge infrastructure?
So over here now we have three options. Let us say, for example, on your questions, I have a cloud, you're talking about edge network or maybe something like that, or maybe something on-prem. Okay, cloud we all know, wherein I will move all my research to third-party space provider, maybe something like that. Edge network, when we call it as edge network or edge device, is something where I am expecting my data is very close to particular network device or appliances, and or maybe to the end user also, close proximity to my end user also, and I should be in a position to compute as early as possible. Okay, so that's what we call as edge infrastructure. Okay, on-prem, again, I know everything and anything is under my vicinity, under my ecosystem. Okay, so these how we define in a simpler way: cloud, on-prem, and your edge infrastructure. So accordingly, if security and compliance per se, it's but obvious, industry accept or not, when it comes to on-prem, I'm more comfortable. The reason is very simple, because that is within my eyes, it is within my ecosystem, within my vicinity. So of course, security and compliance to achieve or to follow on-prem, it's very easy for me. As I told you, when I say edge infrastructure, that means data will be close to my device. That means there will be security hindrance or security, volatility or something that's to be there. I have to be always at the edge. Cloud, well, most of the cloud providers these days, they say that they are quite secure and all these things, but still we have to dependent on the other folks, we have to dependent on our providers. So the answer the query, if it's a management per se, if I want to, if not bother about all these three activities, if I have to just outsource and just make sure that I have a SLA, stringent SLA in place, then cloud should be the best option available. But if at all, if I'm concerned about my data and if my regulator doesn't allow me, and I have that bandwidth wherein I can strike a right balance between my core activity and managing my IT assets also, I get it has to be balanced between on-prem and cloud. So as a bank or as a BFSI, I will always prefer that my critical applications should be run on on-prem stuff, or else whatever the computing and whatever the things which I can afford to go, or wherein there is a business demand, I'll strike a right balance between the edge infrastructure and cloud. So it won't be a single infra, you can say, a single place where I'll be looking, at least BFSI per se. As on that, I'm not anticipating future, or I'm not going ahead, or rather I'm not assuming anything that regulator will be relaxed or something. But as on that, what I will say, striking a right balance between the on-prem, cloud, and edge infra, I guess that is the need of an hour.
I couldn't agree more on that. And actually, when you say that this is specific to the banking and financial services industry, there's no wonder that the global market share for hyperconverged infrastructure for the banking and financial industry is a whooping 25.8%. With that, coming to my next question. Now that you've laid down the basics for us, should an organization right-size their infrastructure for an agile and simplified IT environment, one that is ideal for all IT admins?
Yeah, see, there is something called right sizing and there is something called agile development. Also, let's again, the way we have proceeded or followed over the earlier questions over here, what is right sizing actually all about? It's process of reserving your computing instances. It may be containers or vMware, whatsoever it may be, with enough other stuff like CPUs, RAM, storage to achieve performance within your cost limit. Okay, so say for example, if I want to say, if I have limited energy source, for example, if 100 units of energy or 100 unit of resources, if 90 unit of resources just consumed for my daily operations, so I will left over only 10 units of resource for computing and other high-end activities. So that's not a right way to do. So that's why the concept has evolved that let's have the sizing in place, or what we call right sizing in place, wherein I should get enough power, enough performance, or enough resources in hand to make the more critical activity instead of the obsolete activity. Okay, so a classic example of right sizing is like say for example any applications. Let's say take a case of e-commerce application. If I'm running e-commerce application, there is no point in dedicating the enough capacity to e-commerce application all throughout the year. During festive season or during offers or doing whatsoever, maybe I should be able to scale up and scale down. That's a classic example, at least in BFSI context, as a sizing, or maybe margin, wherein now tax payments and government's payments will be in the full flow. So now I should be in a position to scale up or ramp up my capacity for those tax payments or governments or state governments or central government payment, because this is the period where I'll be achieving or where I'll be receiving huge traffic. But there is no point in keeping that performance or just blocking my important asset throughout the year. That's really difficult to achieve when it comes to on-prem. An answer for this is, of course, cloud. I have to reach cloud with the SCI kind of solutions to achieve the right sizing and to achieve that agility of the development. Now, agile development, what you call agile development, it is something which supports deployment of provisioning incremental upgrades, so for your resources or for your changes, wherein it, say for example, if tomorrow something has come, say for example re-KYC using video KYC, something like that, if I want to do it and regulate it, say you have to come up in next 2 months, rapid development, I can't go with my old traditional approach. I have to follow those agile network, considering that I have to ramp up or may ramp down. Though this is a classic example wherein I have to combine both agility and right sizing to achieve in on-prem. Well, I'm not saying it's impossible, but trust me, it's very difficult to achieve this agility and right sizing through your on-prem. For these kind of applications, yes, cloud is the answer. And that is the reason we say, or we anticipated, and maybe the figure which you have shown earlier, the why BFSI is further penetrating into the cloud kind of SCI kind of solution. This is the reason, because the agility and right sizing over a cloud ready-made or tailor-made infrastructure, I guess that's a need of an hour, and that's going to further improve and increase the size to BFSI players also.
Amazing. Thank you very much for taking us through that in a very structured and articulated fashion, RK. And while you were doing that, you touched upon the need for the right kind of solution to help you derive the agility and the right sizing that you would look for while moving to cloud with HCI. So in that purview, what are some of the essential features that you would look for that would actually put your business in the driver's seat and help you modernize your data center and accelerate your cloud transformation with the right kind of solutions?
When it comes to business demands, or you can see the business arts, there are 3 parameters, which is the key for any business, irrespective of the vertical, including BFSI. First and foremost, everything should be happen in a simple manner. Achieving the simplicity, get rid of complication or get rid of complexity. Okay, so first and foremost, simplicity. The second is reliable. There is no point in having the simple network or simple infrastructure in place. It has to be reliable, as in when if I need it, it has to be reliable. It should work for me when it is needed or when there is a need of an hour. Last but not the least, as I said, if I want to compete in the market with all the players, it has to be innovative. Okay, so simplicity, reliability, and innovate. This is the need of an hour going ahead. Okay, so how it can be achieved? Yes, you have to modernize. Where I can start with, I have to modernize my data center. How it will help me? First and foremost, if I want to achieve that simplicity, reliability, and innovation, I should have. I don't have the liberty to just pay and go, and so there is a limitation of budget also. So I have to make sure it saves on cost. And how it will save the cost. Is it easy? That is not a bargainable job. So what I have to strike a right balance when it will not only save my cost, but it will save my cost if I improve my resource utilization. That's the number one step. Okay. Second, as I already said, everything I needed simplicity. So I have to reduce my complexity. Okay. Third, again, anything and everything what we do is for the business. Okay, so as in when I quickly responses to my business demands, I will be able to achieve my target. Okay, so basically when we talk about the modernization or when we talk about the HI, this is nothing but what you call is, it's a software defined unified systems that combines your all elements of data center. We already discussed in our first point also. It's nothing but a software defined unified systems. Okay, so when it comes to modernization now, how we will achieve this facet of parameter, what we discuss about reliability, simplicity, innovation, business demand, how that can be achieved through SCI or modernization is through the virtualization. Okay, now what is virtualization? Now that is nothing but it pools the resources and allocate in a proper way dynamically. A simple word of virtualization, it may be through VMs or containers, whatsoever, but it's just pulling out the resources and dynamically allocating in a proper way. Virtualization, so where virtualization, and we are talking about the data center. So there are four facets here too. How to achieve the virtualization first and foremost at storage, and storage virtualization is very key. We have given in earlier example of ramping up, ramping down, scaling up, scaling down. That's here that I should be able to achieve this virtualization at the storage number. Virtualization at computing, and that's very important. I cannot compute if I have one box responsible for computing and I have dedicated for only one application, then my entire that application will perform very perfectly. But then I have to take care of, I have to cater hell lot of application in my entire ecosystem. So virtualization at computing it, you cannot get rid of network. So make sure you have to achieve network virtualization, because the first gray area or the only gray area if something goes wrong, it's network. So make sure you achieve that virtualization at network end too. You have to bring it the last virtualization at the automation end, because if you want to reduce the cost, if you want to achieve the performance, if you have to face the demand, then automation plays a key role. I can't depend upon my age-old manual activities, which is time-consuming, resource-consuming, and it will not serve or it will not satisfy my TAT also. So I guess with this facet, I guess if I do the virtualization at storage, network, and if I introduce the automation, if I take care of network, I guess the modernization of data center through SCI is very much possible, and it will not only reduce my cost, it will take care of my performance also, and it will take care of my never-ending business demands also.
Brilliant. That sums it up so nicely. Thank you very much, RK. That's as much as what we have time for. Thank you for taking us through how organizations are looking at overcoming common IT struggles across multiple environments, and all this in a cost-efficient way while handling complex management delays and ensuring speed to market in their products and services. Well, we understand that performance is key and remains critical when you're dealing with multiple instances across cloud deployments, and faster performance means running more workloads, increasing productivity, and of course, accelerating what we're all after, business outcomes. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Kanchi. Pleasure talking. Yeah, take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've heard from RK on what's the imperatives of simplifying management, security, and compliance of distributed IT asset looks. We've also heard how organizations are formulating strategies to right-size their infrastructure for a simplified IT environment. With that, it's time now to move forward to our next discussion. All right, everybody, I have with me in conversation Mr. Andre Ahmed from Dell Technologies. Thank you very much, Andre, for joining us today.
Hi, Kanchi. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And also, we have with us Mr. Sunil Prabhu, who's from Microsoft. Thank you, Sunil, for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me invited over. Hi, Andre.
Brilliant. All right, gentlemen, we have this heavy task with us because we've just finished the conversation, and you must have heard from Mr. R.K. Shastri, and he's outlined certain very fine points for us on how organizations are actually trying to build the performance that remains critical for on-prem, hybrid, and multi-cloud deployment. They're also trying to accelerate their performance, which means running workloads, increasing productivity, and accelerating business outcomes, of course. What we've also seen is that the global hyper-converged infrastructure market is projected to grow from $6.79 billion to $32.19 billion in the year 2028, which is at a CAGR of 24.9%. While all of this is being spoken, BFSI remains as a very big contributor to that market. We've seen about 25.8% market share from the BFSI industry. So I'm very quickly going to dive into my first question. And Andre, to you, I would love to ask this question. We've seen that organizations are looking at accelerating innovation through faster application rollout and predictable workload outcomes. How do you think can they streamline their multi-cloud experience across data centers and edge locations while simplifying their on-prem operations?
Right. So I think that the organization should look for a consistent infrastructure and operation across their multi-cloud, on-premise, and edge resources, right? Consistent means they use the same hybrid operating model, so organization doesn't have to spend and risk to different level of expertise in managing different and complex management points. On-premise platform should also have similar characteristics as the cloud platform, like agility, scalability, and simplicity, which can be achieved in technologies such as hyper-converged infrastructure. Dell and also joined together with Microsoft, we bring a hyper-converged solutions with very simple operations and with software-driven automation and lifecycle management and with hybrid by design approach.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Andre, for outlining that for us. And when we're speaking about hybrid by design, and of course, while we're trying to deliver all the kind of experience and simplify operations for organizations, what is your take on this, Sunil?
Actually, if you see, digital and application innovation drive the business outcomes. The ability to deliver differentiated and flexible customer experiences, improve teamwork and well-being, and adapt and scale to new business models and ways of working will determine an organization's success. Hybrid cloud computing, which refers to a computing environment that combines public cloud and on-premises infrastructure, including private cloud, allows data and application to be shared with people. It gives you more deployment options and greater flexibility to scale computing resources and take advantage of cloud innovation while offering interoperability with your on-premises environment. At Microsoft and along with Dell, we have services like Azure Stack HCI, and there are some services like Azure DevOps, Azure Arc, Azure Arc enabled data services, and of course, there were Azure AD, which help you run your production workload and cloud native apps anywhere. Actually, it's evolving to include multi-cloud environments and edge infrastructure too.
Brilliant. So you've touched upon evolving into hybrid and multi-cloud structures. And with those integrations that simplify management and operations while ensuring, of course, consistent application and infrastructure services, what are the key benefits that an organization can derive, Sunil?
So actually, if you look at this, multi-cloud computing refers to the use of multi-cloud computing services from more than one cloud provider, including private and public clouds. And in a heterogeneous environment. A multi-cloud strategy provides greater flexibility and mitigates risk. Choose services from different cloud providers best suited for a specific task, or take advantage of services offered by a particular cloud provider in a specific location. Multi-cloud requires understanding different clouds, which can be challenging. This definitely brings in complexity and management overheads. Therefore, it's important to choose a cloud platform such as Azure that embraces a multi-cloud approach and offers product capabilities that help significantly simplify multi-cloud management. At the cost of repeating, I again want to mention about the services like Azure Stack HCI, Azure DevOps, Azure Arc, and Azure Arc enabled data services. The combination of these services help the customer to manage and govern with a single control plane. Bring Azure services anywhere, modernize on-premise infrastructure, extend compute AI to edge. So if you explore Arc, the Azure Arc service, it's actually a bridge that extends the Azure platform to help you build applications and services with the flexibility to run across data centers at the edge and in multi-cloud environments. In short, you can do more with less by leveraging your existing investments to modernize with cloud-native solutions.
I couldn't agree more. Well, in your articulation to this particular question, you mentioned about the, operational overheads. Andre, reducing operational overheads has become a business priority. How do you think can businesses benefit from simplifying management?
Right. So usually, if you have a traditional data center architecture, right, the operational overheads is becoming very complex, right? So we need to have an on-prem solution which run on a modernized platform. So a hyper-converged solution is very simplify those overall management overhead, because now you have a single platform to manage. You don't have many multiple and complex management point to manage silo component like storage, compute, and network. You have everything in your platform, right? And then also this platform should have a tight integration from the software and the hardware all together as a fully engineered system, right? Where all components that makes up the platform are being continuously validated and tested and updates in automatic fashions. This allows organizations to focus on strategic initiative rather than having to constantly involve in validating and testing by themselves, which increase performance and security risks. In addition to that, the platform should be hybrid by design, right? To enable running on demand cloud services, which Sunil has mentioned, and have those tightly integrated services with the platform, and eventually provide a seamless hybrid application model.
Thank you for taking us through that. While businesses are trying to tightly integrate their operations, there's also this aspect of simplifying security and compliance, and that across locations. Andre, what is your take on how businesses can actually address the security and compliance needs?
Right. So first, the security and compliance is very difficult to manage if you have multiple workloads running across your core data center, your multiple public cloud, or your edge, right? So you need a hybrid cloud operating model and also a hybrid cloud platform, which is managed in a unified manner. So you need to first centralize your management, right? Using technology such as Azure Arc, right? How you can project those resources into public Azure, right? Those resources can be a virtual machine, Kubernetes cluster, even the Azure Stack HCI cluster itself. When you register to Azure, it has integration automatically with Azure, so you can see everything in one centralized management. So that's the first things you need to do, right? And then if you have all integrated into centralized manner, then you can collect all the logs and telemetry data into one single place, right? Collect it, process, and analyze. And then you can then monitor the policy, right? The policy can also be defined and applied to all locations. So now organization can see the compliance from one single dashboard against any security standards, and automatically can also remediate those incompliant objects at once. The second, now you have decentralized management pane for all your resources. When you deploy a hybrid application, right, you need to have a hybrid cloud platform, which also have an end-to-end secure foundation from hardware with technologies such as Secure Core, Trusted Platform Module, Infrastructure Lock, BitLocker Drive Encryption, and many more technologies that we incorporated into these solutions. Dell pioneered a HCI configuration profile called HCP policy definition, which can define the platform configuration best practice in terms of performance, resilience, and security into an Azure policy definition, which can then be onboarded to Azure policy dashboard and check the compliance across all Azure Stack HCI deployments at once, together with other security baseline policy like PCI standards, each part depending on your vertical industry, right? And also many security standards being defined by Microsoft as well.
Brilliant. So that's one consistent feature that we're seeing across all conversations. In my conversation with RK Shastri, this was exactly highlighted, where the priorities for an organization are performance, resilience, and of course, security. Thank you, Andre, for taking us through that. Sunil, would you like to add to this?
Um, the paramount thing about using cloud is, the people will look at security and compliance as a primary thing, and it's really important for your organization that goes to the cloud and use hybrid, because there is a lot of myths that is there as part of this overall conversation and the journey to the cloud. Now, I want to share a few points on this. Like, Microsoft actually invests more than about $1 billion annually on cybersecurity research and development. And we employ more than about 3,500 security experts who are dedicated to data security and privacy. And also, Azure has more certifications than any other cloud provider out there. Now, this is the foundation on which the entire Azure cloud is built on. And post that, Azure offers a unified hybrid security management and advanced threat protection for all the workloads across on-premise, Azure, and other cloud environments. This is where what Andrew told about said about these different services that are available from there. We complement that by using some of the services which are available on Azure itself. Like, you can use the cloud-based threat detection, response, and analytics with Microsoft Defender for Cloud. You can centrally manage a wide range of resources, including Windows Server, Linux on Azure, SQL servers, Azure Kubernetes, Azure Arc enabled data services. You can also perform virtual environment lifecycle management for your Azure Stack HCI. You can delegate access and manage security policies for resources using role-based access. The term used for that is RBAC. And you can also govern your disparate environments through the Azure portal to simplify multi-cloud management and drive operational efficiencies. Now, you look at both aspects of this, right? Centralized management with security. That's what is given as part of the platform.
Brilliant. So you've touched upon centralized management, you've touched upon security. There's also this one more aspect where we talk about centralized management and we'll talk about dispersed ICS. And when organizations are actually trying to accelerate their journey to innovation, how do they actually facilitate, a sort of symphony between both of these? Sunil.
So as previously mentioned, Azure Arc is a bridge that extends the Azure platform to help you build applications and services with the flexibility to run across data centers at the edge and even in multi-cloud environments. So let me talk about these four major points. A consistent development and operation experience to run cloud-native apps anywhere and on any Kubernetes platform. So example like build and modernize your cloud natives on Kubernetes, integrate the Azure monitor security and compliance into your DevOps tool. Few of those things that you can do with the consistent development. Second point is about deployment of data services as cloud native services in your preferred environment for data insights, like create your applications faster with an end-to-end solution from local data collection, storage, and real-time analysis, reduce management overhead, risk exposure. Third point about this is Azure security and governance for application data and infrastructure across diverse environments. So we just spoke about how Microsoft Defender for Cloud can be used for cloud-based threat detection, how you can govern disparate environments. The fourth point about this is flexible infrastructure and connectivity across to meet your regulatory and latency requirements. So meet residency and sovereignty needs with a variety of infrastructure operations, including your Stack HCI, meet governance and compliance standards for apps infrastructure and data with Azure policy, get simplified edge computing infrastructure for low latency applications. You have services like your Express Route, you have services like your networking, which are part of the platform itself. So, and Azure Arc runs on both new and existing hardware. Virtualization and Kubernetes platforms, IoT devices, and integrated systems, these are all part of the services on which, or the platform on which Arc can be extended to. So if you look at the overall centralized management, you have a single pane of control from which, and that's Arc, Azure Arc, which can be used across, be it hybrid, be it multi-cloud, that can.
Thank you for taking us in a very structured manner through that particular thing. Andre, would you want to take a stab at this?
Yeah, the Azure Arc is really the key technology of all of our Azure Stack portfolio, right? Because of the bridge that Sunil mentioned, right? And you have centralized monitoring of any of your resources. But more to that is the ability to run the hybrid workload. So you can now have a freedom to choose the landing zone for your workload, for your applications, wherever they are, right? And you don't have to worry about running your workload on premise because it is managed through a single management, right? Your on-premise can be on a different location from data center core or from edge, but everything is managed through one management pane. And you can also bring those services into on-premise. So your consideration on data sovereignty, your consideration on cost, your consideration on customer experience by latency of the applications is all taken care of, right? But the innovation, the single management, the security aspect of it, all can be use the centralized manner in Azure, right? And all those innovation like Azure Arc data services, Azure Arc app services can also bring down to the on-premise, right? Without have to move your data or workload to cloud. So you have a freedom to do that. And that's why we at Dell, we provide this solution, Dell integrated system for Azure Stack ACI with the Azure Arc as the foundation, right? To give you those freedoms to build the hybrid application, the hybrid cloud operating model.
Thank you, Andre. Well, while you're taking us through all of this, and we've heard from both you and Sunil on the different features and the different advantages of an Azure multi-cloud ecosystem with Dell Azure Stack HCI. Could you walk us through a recent deployment of this solution?
Yes. So recently we have deployed Dell Azure Stack HCI with our largest cloud service provider worldwide, right? This partner provides managed private cloud services in 4 global territories, right? Across Europe, across Asia Pacific and US territory as well. These cloud service providers hosted thousands of virtual machines on premise, but they want to integrate them to Azure management services such as Azure Active Directory, Azure Policy, Azure Monitor, Azure Backup, and Azure Site Recovery. And also from the security perspective, including also the Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So our cloud service providers also leverage the Dell integrated appliance approach, where managing lifecycle management at scale is very simple and seamless, right? In contrast, if they go with the do-it-yourself approach using a standard server or a validated server. So the integrated system is benefiting them to do large-scale deployment, right? We also have this open managed integration to Windows Admin Center and the Azure Arc and Azure Policy integration, which helps them centralize and manage the policy at scale, the security compliance, the configuration best practice to keep hardware at its performance, resiliency, and security that we talk about across hundreds of Azure Stack ACI nodes across multiple geographical locations, right? At the acquisition phase, they're really looking at how to build a hybrid cloud platform with cloud services that they already familiar in Azure, the convenience that their customer and themselves as the partner has already done with Azure, right? Their existing infrastructure, which were a traditional three-tier, could not scale and integrate well with the capabilities of cloud that they want to deliver to their end customers. So the Azure Stack ACI architecture was quite compelling to them. And working with Dell, with history of joint engineering, marketing, and support with Microsoft, and also we have the largest hardware supply chains, gave them assurance on rolling out the new modernized cloud infrastructure.
Brilliant. Those are some excellent benefits that the organization has derived out of this deployment. Thank you for walking us through that in an elaborate fashion. With that, I see that we're almost at the fag end of this conversation and we have a few more minutes left. So my parting question to both of you, and I'll begin with you, Sunil, is that organizations have these transformational plans that help them deliver business outcomes. And hyperconverged infrastructure is one of the solutions that will actually drive those outcomes. Um, how do Dell Technologies and Microsoft help enterprises develop this exact transformation plan?
So over and above the various programs we offer our customers in the cloud journey, be it related to migration or modernization, I see few advantages. And one of the biggest one is faster time to value. Like the partnership with Dell helps offer integrated systems. Okay, it's simple to deploy and procure. The solution is ideal to customers who require turnkey solutions with little deployment effort from IT staff. Joint support agreement with ticket exchanges between Dell and Microsoft. There is a broader choice of hardware components that Dell offers, and Dell offers diverse configurations for demanding workloads. Ability for customers to engage with Dell as a system integrator for deployment integration if needed. So these are some of the things that the enterprise can leverage from the partnership. That is one. And second is obviously in their transformational journey, I would like to bring out one. I want to call out one specific program that we have. That's the Azure Migration and Modernization Program, AMP in short form, if I may. That helps customers accelerate their cloud journey with the right mix of best practice guidance, resources, and expert help at a very early stage. Now, we meet customers wherever they are in their cloud journey and help them move forward with confidence, right from planning to moving them to making it happen successfully. And obviously, with Dell as the partner, everything becomes easier because they're there as part of the platform for the HCI, as well as from a system integrator aspect.
Brilliant. Over to you, Andre.
Yeah, so they have to develop a transformational plan, usually with an enterprise architecture, with the cloud enterprise architecture, right? But the simplest way is first they have to develop a cloud smart strategy, right? They basically inventory their application, right, and maps their application and workload into their specific landing zone, whether it is on public cloud or on premise, right? Considering with three pillars that they can consider of, like performance, how their applications is a requirement on the performance, right? And then cost, secondly, how they can manage the cost effectively, right? They have to know their characteristic of application, whether it is 24/7, whether it is test or dev environment, right? And also the latency, how the application is accessed by the customer and how they can give more customer experience. So this application mapping portfolio is very critical to have in the first place. And then the secondly, they can embrace the hybrid cloud operating model, right? Where they can get all the innovation from the cloud. They can use the cloud, but they can still manage their performance, cost, and security for workloads, which is very suitable run on premise, right? And then to be able to do that, they also need to consider all the organizational aspects, right? They have to consider the skills they have to consider how they can embrace DevOps culture, for example. And the most important thing also business sponsorship, right? The executive blessings. And then third, when they have to acquire a technology, technology also plays a very important role for this. They have to see which one is a very seamless technology, right? So because their effort should be focused on the strategic initiative, like how to build a revenue generated application rather than spending most of their IT operation time managing the infrastructure. So choosing hyperconverged is one of the modernized technology that they can have to simplify the operation, but can provide the application requirement at scale. And also hybrid by design also this is some a critical factor as well, how they can tightly integrate the platform on premise to the cloud, right? So they can manage centrally, right? And then also they can bring all the goodness of the cloud into this platform, right? With a seamless manner.
Thank you. That's absolutely brilliant. And with that, we're almost at the point where we're going to wrap this conversation. I would like to thank both you gentlemen for taking us through, and exhaustively so, how organizations can address their need to boost agility and be more responsive to the changing business needs. And how exactly do they formulate strategies around modernizing and transforming operational experience? Thank you, gentlemen, for that.
Thanks, Kanchi.
Kenshi.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was a scintillating conversation that I've had the pleasure of having with Andre Donardi M, who is the Advisory Systems Engineer for Storage, Platforms, and Systems at Dell Technologies, and Sunil Prabhu, Director GTM for Azure Core at Microsoft. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's time now to get into the technology deep dive. So let's understand what exactly can this technology do for us. And to take us through the same, I'd like to welcome once again Andre. Ladies and gentlemen, with a round of applause, let's welcome Andre Ahmed.
Hello everyone, I'm Andre again from Dell Technologies. Today I'm gonna take you through the demo of hybrid multi-cloud management of our Dell integrated system for Microsoft Azure Stack HCI solutions. Just to give you a context, Dell integrated system for Microsoft Azure Stack HCI is built on a purpose-built Azure Stack HCI OS, is an Azure services, right? And it's very integrated to our hardware platform. It is a fully engineered integrated HCI solutions. It is pre-installed. It has an automation integrated to its management, and it has a joint engineering and support with Microsoft. It also has what we call an open managed integration for centralized management. So open managed integrations allows you to manage the cluster very seamless and very easy for cluster lifecycle management, cluster expansions, and many other features such as dynamic CPU core management and HCP policy, HCI configuration profile policy that we are going to demo very soon. It also has a broad configuration choice for a different workload requirement or use cases, such as edge use cases, and also for core data center use cases for running high performance, mission critical workloads, such as SQL databases, and so on. It also hybrid by design. It can be integrated on demand using any Azure services. For example, Azure management services such as Azure Monitor, Azure Policy, Azure Defender for the cloud, and also Azure Arc-enabled data services and Azure App Services and Azure Kubernetes services. So let's take a look at the management point of the Azure Stack HCI. First, you can manage Azure Stack HCI using Windows Admin Center. Dell has integrated Windows Admin Center with its Open Manage integration. So it allows you to manage on-premise the cluster lifecycle management, expansion, and so on. You can also manage Azure Stack ACI at scale using Azure Arc integration. So Azure Arc integration will project all the resources on-premise to Azure, where it is considered as an Azure resource provider. So if it is an Azure resource provider, you can actually use role-based access control, you can tag, you can inventory, and you can integrate to many other Azure services to these projected resources. Now, on this demo, I will show you how we can use the Azure policies to define a policy which consider the best practice of the configuration, such as the cluster configurations, security configurations, and operating system configurations. All those policy is defined and managed by Dell, and you can onboard those policy to Azure, right? And then see the compliance from Azure. And also you can consistently see the policy compliance on the Windows Admin Center Open Manage as well. Let's take a look at the demo. So now you see the Azure portal on the Azure Policy Blade. So you can see the list of policy definition, which is a built-in from Azure, from Microsoft, where you can define the regulatory compliance, right? Guest configuration, monitoring policies, and so on. So here we're going to onboard the policy definitions from Dell, right? To see the compliance of all the best practice in terms of performance, security, and resilience of all Azure Stack ACI clusters across all locations. Now let's take a look at the Windows Admin Center on the on-premise. So this is the dashboard of the Windows Admin Center, and then you see the Open Manage integration extension on the Windows Admin Center. So here we can see the health, the number of the nodes, and all the security has been enabled, right? Now we want to onboard the policy from Windows Admin Center. First, you need to sign in. So remember that Azure Stack ACI OS is an Azure service. You need to have an Azure subscriptions and credits, right? And then you need to have a user account that has access to manage the policy, right? So the system will do a pre-check and then see all the requirement to onboard the policy, right? So first, the cluster must be registered to Azure. Remember, Azure Stack ACI policy is connected to Azure at least 30 days of connection to aggregate the billing, right? And the Windows Admin Center also is registered to Azure Active Directory. And you need also to have a user which has permission to create and manage policy. Okay, let's onboard the policies. First, you need to configure the cluster setting first. Before that, you can see also the details of the subscription. So all your Azure Stack ACI is residing on this subscription details. So this is in which subscription ID and which resource group it is located and which region it is located. So before you onboard the policy, you need to configure the cluster settings. So the cluster settings is depending on how you deploy your Azure Stack ACI cluster. So what is the use case? Is it a edge use case? Is it a core data center use case, right? So you can change the network topology and deployment model accordingly. So here we're going to select non-converged physical. It means that the storage traffic and the host management and VM traffic is separated into a different physical adapter and physical network link. So this is one of the best practice if we are going to deploy on a core data center. And the deployment model also, we select the scalable. So scalable means using a top of the rack switch for scaling your cluster later on, right? So this all best practice of this deployment is already incorporated into an Azure policy definition from Dell Technologies. So let's save this cluster configuration settings. Let's onboard the policies. You see the policy is consisting of three configuration policy. You have the HCI hardware configuration policy, where you have best practice on turning on BIOS driver firmware, right, to have the best performance and security and resilience. You also have the operating system configuration policy, right? This is also to make sure that the configuration on the hardware level and the OS setting level is consistent and at its best performance. Also, you have a cluster-wide configuration policy. So we're going to onboard these policies to Azure, right? Using the user and the subscription that we already defined. So it's already onboarded. You can see the detail here. Success, the status means that it's already onboarded to Azure. You can also export the details into CSV. Now, let's take a look at the Azure portal. Remember that you can manage at scale at the Azure portal to see all of your Azure Stack HCI across many geographical locations. Here we can see the Azure policy definition is already onboarded, right? Remember, in Azure policy, you have a policy definition of policy and also an initiative. Initiative is the collection of the policy, right? Now you can filter out on the initiative. You can see there's so many HCI configuration policy is already onboarded, right? Depending on the type of the appliance, it's shown here that it's already onboarded many appliance type. And it has a different policy for each of the category, right? Depending on the use case of those appliance, whether this appliance is on edge, another appliance is on core data center. So it has its own policy definitions, right? Now let's take a look again at the Windows Admin Center. We're going to check, after we onboard the policy, we're going to check the compliance. So if there's any items which is comply or not comply, we can see it. Everything must be according to what we already defined in policy, right? So let's check the compliance. Let's configure the cluster setting once more to have alignment to what we have defined in the policy and what we want to see in the compliance. Let's check again the same non-converged physical and scalable deployment model. Click Save, right? And then click Check Compliance. Now the Windows Admin Center, the Open Managed Integration will run the compliance against all the policies for the whole clusters, right? You see 98% of the policy is compliant, but there's one item which is not compliant. You can check it on the detail here. It seems that the hardware configuration policy, there's one policy which is not compliant. Let's check on the details. It seems that one of the BIOS configuration is not enabled. So we can check in the detail here. And also if we go back to the Azure portal in the Azure Policy Blade, you can also see the same compliance report here, right? So there's one non-compliant item, which is very consistent to what have been shown on the Windows Admin Center. which is the one of the BIOS settings here is not enabled. So this one has to be enabled, right, to have a very efficient virtualization, right? So let's check on the Windows Admin Center again. Let's fix the compliance from Windows Admin Center. So some compliance are able to be remediated from Azure portal directly, or some compliance, some policy needs to be remediated on Windows Admin Center because it's related to the management of the hardware. So here we're going to fix the compliance from Windows Admin Center because it is BIOS related, right? We need to also disable the infrastructure lock. So infrastructure lock is the security features of Dell Integrated System of Azure Stack ACI, where you can lock the configuration to prevent from inadvertent drifts, right? So every change on the configurations, admin must enable or disable this infrastructure lock. Any other user, then admin cannot enable or disable this infrastructure lock. So we disable first the infrastructure lock so we can change the configuration, right? So let's apply the remediation. So what it actually do is it changed the BIOS according to the policy settings, right? And then it integrates with the cluster aware updates module on Azure Stack ACI to live migrate all the VMs in each of the node in a rolling fashion. So there's no disruption on the virtual machine, right? Everything can be accessible, right? But the VM is updated but the BIOS and restarted in rolling fashion manners. So yeah, this node looks like it's restarting, and other nodes are restarting in turns, right? Now your compliance is already remediated, right, without disruption on your applications, right? And then you can see the detail here, everything is already compliant, already green, right? And we can also see the same from the Azure portal, everything is already green. So that's it for the demo today. I hope it has been very useful. Thank you for your attentions. See you on the next event.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today. With that, it's a wrap at the Modernize and Transform operational experience with Dell Integrated System from Microsoft Azure Stack. Ladies and gentlemen, we would request 2 more minutes of your time to fill out the feedback form. Your feedback is invaluable to us, and we request you to please fill in and write any suggestions or recommendations that you have for us. This will, of course, help us better content, structure, and delivery of our conferences. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I'd like to sign off. Stay safe, stay healthy, and do enjoy the rest of your day.